Um, I'll have, oh, thank you for the recording. Calling this meeting to order of the Budget Committee for the Neighborhood Council. I'm Lana, the Budget Chair, and I would like to call the roll real quick. Okay, so I'm here. Kim Clements,
Here.
Ira Gold,
Here.
Richard Niederberg. So let's unmute Richard. Richard, are you there? Okay, well, we see him, but maybe we'll hear him soon. Okay. Brandon Pender,
Yeah.
Adam Summer.
I'm here.
Great. And we have, just for the record, we have a couple of guests who will be presenting proposals tonight that are on the agenda. Thank you so much. So, a couple of quick.
Richard just dropped off. Heads up.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure he's trying to get his things sorted. And with that, I will just make a couple of quick little just committee comments while doing this work. Our treasurer has been very, very busy. Thanks to Kim, she's keeping it all sorted, and she'll be given more details about a lot of that tedious work that she has stayed on top of these past few months since the financial package had initially been submitted, and we have some lovely requests from our other committees that our guests will present to us. Please keep in mind, since this is March, any of these motions that we put forth today will go on the March agenda. I want to be very conscientious that the ending fiscal year is June. And so I'm going to look to Kim to sort of keep us on track to make sure we have all of our financials in order so that when we close out the year, we have utilized this money to the best of our ability for the strength of our community. So, with that, thank you so much. Do we have any public comments on anything in this on this agenda? If you will, just raise your hand, or let's see. Let's see. How do they do that? Ira, you can help me out with this. If anybody has any public comment, I guess it will show in the participants list. How about that? Okay, I keep asking the iPhone to unmute in case there's any comment there. Thank you. Okay, if there are no public comment on the agenda items, we will just move right along to our item number 4, which is the presentation, discussion, and possible motion to accept the revised 2021-2022 budget. The current approved 2021-22 budget was attached to our agenda with a link, and I also sent it in a Word doc that hopefully y'all were able to take a look at. But I'm going to now have Kim Clements, our treasurer, present this information to us. And you have
Okay.
15
Thank you,
minutes.
Lana.
Thank you.
Yes, Lana and I had discussed this this document in general. It's not meant to, you were somewhat correct, Lana, in that it's not meant to be living, breathing, and constantly changing. However, sometimes if there is a vendor change, or you need more monies in one category, there is need to do this. And I was instructed that because we had approved, the board had approved the upgrade to the website, the SaaS system, that I needed to add that in here to the office budget. So I took a look at some other things that we also had approved that were even prior fiscal year, had been approved, but spilled over to our fiscal year, such as the Walking Man, which was distribution, having to do with the 2020 election, was distribution of I think flyers. Anyways, so I added things in here that were already known and approved. There's also under the community improvement project, there is a named item as well that has been approved by the board. So this did need a bit of revamping at this time. And so I'm happy to, I'm looking for input of anything that anyone is aware of that, maybe we need to rejigger some of these numbers. But I did to the best of my ability. There is one comment I have to make, that the telephone CBS Studio Center is actually now Radford Studio Center. Same studio, just a different name. So I would like to correct that to Radford Studio Center.
Kim, would you like me to share my screen so I can share the budget?
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, you don't need to raise your hand for stuff like that. I apologize, but sure, go right ahead, that we can put this up for all to view. Hopefully this is more collaborative than, because I don't have a motion forward for us to actually approve this at this time. This would be put before the board at the March meeting to be approved so that we can work on this. And go through each category quickly if you'd like, just to explain like what changes that I did make. We had originally for the web service and maintenance, the web corner, we had budgeted 2,400 originally, and 200, two invoices one invoice with 2 months worth, so $400. In fact, I'm glad we're talking about this now because that will need changing. 2 invoices, each for 200, so a total of 400, had not been paid from, I think, somewhere in the middle of 2020. And we did approve that as a board, took care of it. I was thinking it was $200. So that will need to come up. There also was an expense that I wasn't aware of, or we weren't aware of, up forward to, which was I think it's $30 or $40 domain re-registration. So that I was throwing that in there. I'd like to bring this up to, it'd be the 2,400 plus 400, plus I was just throwing another 100 in, so 2,900. I'd like to change that too. The upgrade to the web corner upgrade is there at 2,500. And what I did then, we also approved printing of business cards at 800, or excuse me, I should say, we just approved the amount. I actually have the total amount at $624 and 15 cents. I figured if any other requests for those business cards by board members come in, I wanted to pad that a little. So what I did was to take funds out of the electronics and the office supplies. We're not in the office, we're not spending there. We may have need for something. There is talk that we're going to return at some point to in-person meetings. So we may have some need. Very doubtful that in this fiscal year, we're going to have any electronic need. But again, this is why we're discussing. I'd be happy for anybody's input and thoughts. We can just sort of discuss this section if you'd like, or if people would like, I'll talk about each section so you can get a flavor of the rest of it. But I think these sections can stand on their own, and that we can talk about each one. So I would like to pull 200 from either office supplies or the computer printer, the electronics, in order to bring that 2,700 up from the web corner that I suggested up to 2,900. So anybody's thoughts on this?
I have a
question?
thought.
Yes.
If you want to just give us the adjustments that you'd like to make, and then we can scroll through whatever section it is that it applies to, and then we can make a motion just in general to put on the March agenda saying that we support these adjustments,
Okay.
something like that. And
Okay. Well, does anybody, oh, great, terrific. Does anybody have any thoughts on this section? Anything that they foresee coming down the pike that we need to budget for, or anything to be changed here other than what I just discussed, that 200 should be pulled? I'll say, we can easily take 100 from each category, from the office supplies and from the electronics, to then bring that website service and maintenance up to 2,900.
Richard has his hand raised. Richard,
Go
can
ahead,
you
Richard.
hear?
Yeah, last time we got more ledger cartridges. It cost us $800 from Staples. That is what it went for. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So don't cut down the printer too much.
Well, if
Well,
we're looking,
Go ahead. I was going to say, I think that would fall under the office supplies.
Okay, well, I don't care which one you hit it from. I just want to say
Sure.
it was $800 last time.
I also was thinking, if we print any flyers for anything, I think the printing should be, again, this was just my original stab that I wanted to so we had something to go by, but I figured we'd discuss this. The business cards, as I said, were, let's call it 6 1/4. They were just under 6 1/4. The current order.
I did it yesterday.
Yes, thank you, Richard. Yes, you did. So that, that could even be, that I'd like to say printing business cards and maybe general office, or split out printing. It used to say just printing. Should printing, separate printing, like if we print flyers in the office or something, should that be a separate line item? Do we need to allow for such things, those who have served before?
I think that the printing for your business cards is because you're going to go to a vendor. So that's sort of the reason why I think that it was in more detail, like printing business cards. Because if you're going to run something off on the office computer, or right on the office printer,
that's
you're
just
making
supplies.
copies. That's just supplies.
Okay. Then I think we can fairly take 100 out of the business cards, knowing that it was 625. And if another person comes along, we've got them covered there. So
Okay.
we can take 100 from there, and I'm just thinking, probably take it out of the computer printer section then. So make that 400, and the business cards would be 700.
Okay. And then that amount you're adding to the website service and maintenance to make that a total of 2,900. Is that
correct?
where
So
I
it would.
understand?
So these numbers would read 160 as is, 490 for office supplies, 700 for the business cards, 2,900 for the website service, 2,500 for the upgrade, and 400 under electronics.
Excellent.
Should we move some from the again, that says to me they were just suggesting computer printer, that kind of thing. Should we move some into office supplies, as Richard said, to boost that, or should we just leave this for the moment? It seems to me it doesn't have to be, you just need, you need to have the money in the category. So I don't think that it is truly, 100% that we could, but if we do not have money in the category anymore, although, you know what, I'm getting some conflicting information from the clerk's office.
Sure.
I was thinking
they're new, right?
We have a
new rep.
we lost the funding rep we had, and we have a new one, and the prior funding rep was, or it may have been the intermediate funding rep, was commenting about sticking, she said, be careful because you have 160 in the telephone amount, and there had been an unexpectedly high bill. So she said, you only have 160 to work with. On the other hand, some people seem to feel that, you can, as long as you have the funds in that category, if you don't, as to get pulled from elsewhere. So, That would be nice to have this as close to correct
Right.
as we can. Um,
And just a little backstory on the telephone bill. I think what I remember is that
it's all been
during
taken care of and
sure, that's
discussed,
been
and
handled,
yeah.
and I think our new rep did not know that backstory, and it was because we were continuing to be charged for the phone service at the Rad, which previously known as CBS Center, now the Radford Studio Center, and that accrued, and it had not been paid, and so that's
No,
why it became a high bill,
this was a
right?
separate, no, this was a separate matter. We're charged for per minute, and there was a longer call than the person who used it did not know it was a per minute charge on those phones.
That's interesting.
So
So, may I ask how high that was? I mean, did that
we're
did?
not talking big dollars. We're used to seeing a $250 or $275 a month.
Mm-hmm.
This one it was $44.
So can I interject? I don't know who I've never been offered a key or a tour, or I don't know if any board member has been using the phones in there. So
It was a committee chair and who does have access, who's very, very helpful to the board and really manages the office and has good reason to be in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Ira,
So
just a little side trip about that. As soon as CBS relaxes some of their rules for being on the lot, um, I I'm sure that Randy or whomever it is that might be in charge of that will certainly be happy to show you around. So, is there another section that we can
sure, should we, so
review real
right
quick?
now we'll say that's 160, 490, 700, 2,900, 2,500, and 400. That
Excellent.
work for everybody for now. We can move along and we can revisit this if need be, but so I did not touch this section. Didn't change that.
I had my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Brandon. Thank you.
Yeah. As a former board member and a committee chair, I know, I guess, what goes on in the office there. Normally, the committee chairs, mostly the committee chairs, and maybe for the exception of maybe the vice president and president, generally when they go into the office there, they take the incoming phone calls through the switchboard. They normally take, because people, that's what normally what the public knows how to try to get in contact, whether they catch them when they're not there and they leave messages on their individual committee voicemails or whatever, or board members voicemails. But normally nobody really makes outgoing phone calls from there. They normally just use their own cell phone. We very rarely did because it's so expensive.
Yeah, no, I understood the per minute charge was not known at the time, and this was somebody doing official business. And anyways, so it's been taken care of, and everyone is now aware that we are charged per minute. Use your cell phone if you can. Their cell phone happened to be dead, so that's
Okay, yeah.
where that was, and they had to take care of some business.
Yeah, because I used to have people call me there that if they wanted to when I was there, when I was a committee chair and then on the board. But normally I would just use my cell phone because you make even though the calls are local, it adds up. It adds up to a lot.
Yeah, that's absolutely true and correct, and thank you. And I would like to back up 1 second. I did actually take 1,000 out of the, it used to say, now go forward to the outreach. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ira. This is great, by the way. It used to say the last that says TBD used to say miscellaneous. And I was told we really can't, I mean, I know miscellaneous is just a placeholder for us, but I changed that to TBD, and it used to be 1,000. I made it excuse me, it used to be 3,000. I took 1,000 from there. I made it 2,000. Which, because it's not spoken for, again, this is, if someone has a better idea, great, or, any input on it, but I did take that in order to cover the walking man, which is right below in the election expenditures, to help cover that, and took 200 from elsewhere. So go
Kim,
ahead.
just
Yeah.
clarify real quick. So you just moved in from the outreach expenditures category to the election expenditures category, that line item of $1,200 to cover.
It was
walking
1,000.
man.
It was 1,000, but
Oh,
yes,
okay.
that is where
Okay.
I managed to balance this budget, was to take 1,000 from that. Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Um,
We're coming up with 2-minute warning for our 15 minutes of this. Was there
okay,
any other
great.
pertinent
Let's,
things or
if
questions?
we go down to the next, as well. So these numbers were rejiggered in a way, I'll give you quickly. The neighborhood purpose grants, I didn't change the total amount. I just changed the allotments, for some specific reasons. There had been something outstanding from prior, which I still have to check into and figure out where things are. But so I made one of these categories 6,500 as opposed to all. There used to be 4 items under the neighborhood purpose grants, all at 3,500 each. So I changed the amounts. And finally, with community improvement projects, there had been 3 items at, call it 2,400 each. We already approved one for 5,000, and there's another matter that is still something looking into sorting out. And I cushioned this with 3,000 for that, is why I put the 3,000 there. So, I'm again happy to discuss any thoughts. Any questions? Anything?
If we return to meetings, I'm not saying we will, but if we do, the food's going to be at least $200 per meeting, not counting water.
And Richard, I'm wondering if we would be making that move to in-person meeting within this fiscal budget. I don't know that I anticipate that happening before April, maybe even May. So I think we would probably be covered with.
Yeah, there's 1,200 currently, it shows, for board meetings in the outreach. And that would be, more than enough. And again, this can, we can always revisit, and we may need to, and hopefully we'll in fact talk about this again in a few months and have a new financial packet ready to go prior to the next fiscal year. Because one real issue we had this year that there was nothing in place until about October, is when that finally got approved and into the system. So it was a very long time for us to sit with funds frozen and not in good standing. So it's something we'll work on to get ahead of for the next fiscal year. But
Great.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Any other changes and on this? Any thoughts?
Also, one more thing is that sometimes people want water I'm had to buy for the office. If that's still the case, allow for it. If not, don't allow for it.
What was the item? I didn't hear, Richard.
Ordinary bottled water for the office.
Bottled water. Yeah. Again, that would probably be the office supplies, and something that we'll look at and worry about if we are, if and when we're back there. So.
Great. If there's no other comments, questions, or concerns, would we like to make a motion to accept the proposed adjustments?
I so
Um,
move.
Okay, great. And I would like to call the vote, or are there any objections, or do we have to? I think we have to verbally say our vote. So, thank you, Richard, for seconding that motion. May we have your vote,
Yes.
Richard? Okay, I vote yes. Okay, Kim,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Ira,
Yes.
and we have Brandon.
Yes,
Right. Did I get everybody? Adam, did I get you? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Great. Thank you. That motion will pass. Okay.
Oh, good job, Kim.
Yay.
was very
Thank you,
well done.
Kim. Thank you so much. And
Thanks
now
for
I think you
bearing
made really
with
good
me. I
choices
know
too.
it wasn't the smoothest, but thanks.
no,
No, it
it's-
was. It was. I've seen these. It was really good.
Okay,
it's
thank you.
lovely. So great. So thank you so much. And we're moving on to the next item, which is number 5. This is coming to us from our outreach committee. And we have with us board member Peggy Velasco. Peggy, do you know if Karen might pop in and join you?
I
for
haven't
any-
heard from Karen. I don't think she's available. She was available this weekend,
Okay.
so I will be presenting.
Okay, lovely. And thank you so much. I'm going to let Peggy start to share with us. And Peggy, would you like to share your screen to go through your presentation? Would you like Ira to put
I
it up?
think, let me see if I can share.
I have it
Okay.
queued up if you need it. If it's the
Oh,
one
that's
that
great.
says funding request form spring event, that's what I have.
Actually, I edited a little bit because I just recently got some updates
Okay.
yesterday on Friday. So I would need to share my screen.
Okay, great. And then if you wouldn't mind, Peggy, when you have finished with that, just emailing us those.
Oh, of course. Yeah, this is
Adjusted.
information that I just recently received yesterday.
Thank you.
And
That's
Richard is my witness.
That's all good. We just want to make sure we'll get a hard copy of that if it's different, and we can submit it, with
Of course, of course. So may I share my screen?
Sure. Do we need to allow that?
Yes, you
where
need to,
did-
I think I need to be co-host.
Where is Peggy? Why am I
Maybe
not
either
seeing-
Peggy or Abby, I don't know.
Abby, yes, that's why.
Her name is
Abby,
fine.
no worries. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, there.
Dark here.
There it is. There's the presentation. So this actually comes from the Cultural Affairs Committee. I am the co-chair, Peggy Abigail Velasco, and the chair is Karen Sorrow, who unfortunately is unable to make it this weekend. What I am going to show you, it's something that it's a proposal for events for this fiscal year. So we have been in talks with Beeman Park, and we're looking for a partnership with them. And we have 2 proposals. One is for the spring event being scheduled on a Wednesday on April 13, 2022. And the second event will be in the summer. If you're questioning why would it be in the middle of the week, that is because April 13 or at the week of the 13th happens to be the spring break for LAUSD. And this is usually when Beeman Park hosts their movies at the park. We have been in talks with the park, and Julie is wonderful. Julie Monroe. She presented us a screenshot of their park, and this is just in a nutshell. This is the setup. So due to COVID, people are not going to be as before, just everybody mixed together. They are going to be in sections. So each circle is supposed to be a group of a family of 5. And when we were talking in January and February, at that time, we were talking about about maybe 100 to 100 and maybe 10, pushing it to 20 now because things appear to be a little more safer. We don't know what the maximum amount of people just yet. For that, I am waiting on Julie on what her, based on the meeting that she's going to have in a couple of weeks, she will let us know if the number is going to be increased. But as of today, based on conversations that we've had in January and February, we're expecting to host this event in the spring for up to 120 people, with each circle meaning a family of 5. Now, in January and February, we did not have a sponsorship. So the budget that you received, Lana, it was the maximum amount. So we've been working on crunching numbers, and Julie was wonderful that she worked on a partnership with Paramount, and now Paramount is going to be sponsoring a movie, which is Clifford the Big Red Dog. And the time, as you can see, this is just a rough draft as of last night, as of yesterday. In terms of events, the time it's going, this is just a rough draft. Let's see, so we're gonna have snacks, and I'll talk a little bit about it, but this is just Brandon created this. And so how the cultural affairs is going to be collaborating in April. We are going to provide, due to COVID, it's not going to be as it used to be in prior years. Everything is going to be in packages, and soft drinks, meaning bottled water, bottled juice, etc. for the children. Arts and crafts, they're not necessarily going to be arts and crafts like painting, mix and mingling. It's maybe a coloring book with little crayons, or maybe a book that's still in the works because we just received the name of the movie. So we're going to try to align it to be just children friendly. But just for you to know, it's not going to be an open area for arts and crafts because we're still being trying to be safe. So we're thinking about providing packaged snacks, soft drinks, maybe a book. We're thinking about maybe inviting the LAPD and officer to briefly talk about safety in June, since June is safety month. We thought it would be a good idea. Maybe hire a musician in June, because in June it's Black Music Celebration. So we want to do something that it's also a summer event and also cultural events, since we are a cultural affair. For each event, in a nutshell, for spring and summer, so we are covering the cost for additional staff members. Beeman Park is requesting support as previous years, so this is not something new for this year. This is something that in the past, the neighborhoods, Studio City Neighborhood Council has provided them with additional funds for staff, and the staff are there to help with only screening. That is mounting and also screen time, and then at the end of the movies. We're expecting, as of today, we're expecting about 100 to 150 guests. Again, they're going to be designated areas, five members per area. The number may increase. I don't know that. Julie is going to let us know in a couple of weeks. And the proposed, in a nutshell, because Lana, you received the entire documents, and just in a nutshell, this is what it was submitted. Again, at that time, in January and February, we're thinking that we're going to be covering the cost for the film licensing and equipment, but thanks to Julie and her collaboration with Paramount, we don't have to pay that anymore. Soft drinks, according to Richard and his experience, he roughly estimated that it would be about 250. The snack may sound a little bit high for you, and but the reason why, it's because everything has to be packaged now. Arts and crafts, again, this is just, we don't know how many children we're going to be expecting, so this is just the high end, and they're not going to be painting. This is just we just need to name something. Maybe a book, a coloring book. Let's see, banners and media budget 300 for the 6 staff members for 6 hours only to help with screening. It runs about 684, and this is the number that we the park provided us with this number. And if we don't know what expenses we're going to have, so we just project that it will be about $316. So for the spring, it should not exceed more than 2,500, especially because now we have a sponsor for the film. In the summer, it's very similar, just with the addition that it's a summer event. So and because there's Black History celebration, we want to do something also to cultural as well. So that's the addition for $100. So the budget is not to exceed $3,000. Karen Sorrow is also going to be looking for a sponsorship for a movie. So maybe Julie or Karen. So this is at the high end, but we don't expect to spend more than $3,000. So hopefully we will have someone collaborate with us to sponsor the movie. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to clarify some questions and concerns. So what do you think about the Studio City Neighborhood Council Board about hosting events at Beeman Park in April and June?
Hello?
Richard,
Is this the conclusion of your presentation, Peggy?
Yes, this is
Thank you. Great.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I guess before the conclusion.
That's okay. That's okay.
When we talked about this, we had a motion, so the motion passed. And this is the summary of the motion. So I don't have a motion. I just have the summary of our motion.
Well, that's okay. That's what I needed to clarify, right? So this motion that passed came from your committee.
Not our committee on January 18th.
Okay, because see the way it is worded, I was confused. I thought maybe it had already gone to the board, but this came out of your committee, which is written for the board in preparation for it to be passed. And so basically what you're coming to us for is also support of a motion and approval of it. Thank you for that clarity. We really appreciate it. There were some questions regarding that. And I have a few questions that I had made. Oh, Brandon, did you have something? I don't know what was happening. Let's see. Let me see if I can see. We've got some hands raised, and if it's okay, if I could go ahead and just point out some real quick things here that I had listed. What's that, Richard?
I got a correction. On all the ones that you hosted, we did not pay the $684 at all because of the fact that the support committee sold concessions, so we didn't have to pay that
in the past.
I'm not saying it makes a difference. I'm just saying that's why it jumped, from what it was before.
Sure. And thank you for that. And go ahead, Ira, with your question.
Sure. I just have a request first. I'm getting a lot of feedback, at least on my end. So can I just make a request, Lana, with your permission, that we mute anybody who's not directly speaking?
Okay, great. Sure.
The question is this also. I love these movies in the park. I even go just to kind of hang out because I think it's super cool to see the community there. But my question is this: one, is there security? It's going to be there, especially during this time now, with people that kind of are roaming some of the parks and the issues we've been having with them. If we do have security, how much is that going to cost? And two, I'm just questioning the 684, 6 staff members only to help with screening. That seems to me like a lot. It might not be. That might be the exact number that they need. I don't know. It just seems to me like 6 people just to help with screening, and they're not doing anything else. But what?
I think that's what they. I mean, I worked with them before. They just require it. That's like their policy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Ara, you have a great point. When when Julie brought this up to me, I also questioned that. Also, I think the entire committee wanted to clarify, wanted to clarify what are they going to be doing. They're not doing anything but to help with screening. That is
Well,
known to it, and that is their requirement.
okay, I would like to then interject just right here when you say the screening. I'd like a list. I'd like a list of what are those duties that they're actually doing. Um, and that just that's associated with that comment. And then I have other things, but I don't want to interrupt. I think Kim, did I see your hand as well? And Brandon too?
I do have a question, but I'll wait. I think Richard's been, had his hand up, and Brandon, so I'll wait. Thank you though,
Richard?
Lonnie. Yes,
Yeah.
my hand's up though without being
Okay,
up.
great.
I ran the projectors every year. We've done it for the last 5-6 years. Of course, nothing happened the last 2 years, but before that, I ran the projectors. They weren't running it at all.
I think some changes have been made which we can compare in a little bit. Thank you, Richard, for that comment. Brandon, did you have something?
If you can try to define what the activities are going to be there, the 6 people. I mean, I would like to say have those 6 people, have them help put up the screen and the sound system and stuff like that, because that's normally, I mean, if you're using the same type of setup that it was back when I was involved in it, it's hard to find volunteers from the neighborhood council to do that. So it's involving putting up the generator to inflate the screen, to set it up, to set up the audio portion of it, and just to set the whole thing up. So those 6 people could probably be there to lend a hand for that if they're allowed to do so. Or if I think
That's a great point, Brendan, and that is my understanding. That is what they're supposed to be doing. So
okay, then, and also break it down at the end of the event. And so, I mean, there you go. That would be most helpful, and that would justify that.
okay.
Great, thank
So
you.
my understanding is that the cleaning, they're also going to be handling the cleaning. I mean, we are going to be asking as a courtesy to all families to pick up after themselves. But if there's something that, families missed, they are also going to be doing that.
Right.
But those are great points. I had those conversations with the park, and that is the requirement.
Great.
Staff people, but I'm happy to for our upcoming board meeting to invite Julie so she can explain further what her perspective is based on
Right. I would like that. I would propose to have her put it in writing what their duties are.
I would do that, and I already wrote it down. I am going to write her an email on Monday, send her an
Okay.
email asking her, please provide us with the list of duties for your 6 staff members.
That would be great. And then add that safety question that Ira brought up. That's really important to know. And then I have a few other thoughts, but Kim, did you want to go ahead with your question?
No, it's
Comment?
good. I think things have been covered. I guess the only question I have is at this point, how quickly are they already moving forward to get this done? If we approve this in March, I forget the exact date, is that enough time to get things set up for April 13th?
I briefly had a conversation with her. Again, this is the latest information, especially in terms of the movie. That was what we were most concerned, because if we didn't have a sponsor, then we would have to pay that approximately $400. But again, this information was just provided to me yesterday on Friday, and I sent her an email. We were chatting via email, and we're gonna try to have a conference call, virtual video call next week, and then again towards the end of the week. But yes, it looks like it's set. It's pretty much set in stone with your approval.
Will it be enough time to do, as I noticed there are banners and such, I'm sure Studio City Neighborhood Council name will be on certain things, so will there be enough time to do that?
Richard already has those banners from my understanding, and Richard, do you want to talk to us about the banners?
You're muted, Richard.
I think we're all okay.
From what I understand, these banners, though, we just had an outreach meeting, and these banners have the old logo on it. I have no issue using anything with an old logo, especially for the sake of timing. But I don't know if there's any kind of rules that anything that regulates that.
This is my first time. This is
Richard,
my
how
first.
do we unmute Richard?
So I don't know, but in our last
Can
committee
you hear me
meeting.
now?
Yes, hi Richard. Please fill us in.
Okay, I was saying is, as far as I know, we don't own any banners for the park. You've used the park for movie screenings. We've used the park for National Night Out. As far as I know, we do not own any banners for the corner of Rice Street and Beeman.
Well,
Nor do we have
I
anything.
have
Nor do we have anything for the corner of Moore Park and Laurel Canyon Boulevard for that corner either. We should, but we don't.
Okay, well, I have some suggestions and recommendations based on some of your budget that you've set aside in your presentation, Peggy. Those banners, I would recommend making those banners that show, just as your postcard that Brandon designed for you to show us tonight, even though you just had the one movie title, if you are able to decide and know what your second movie title is, it'd be really great to go ahead and put both of those movie titles on banners. Make 4 banners if you can, a certain size. Figure out where you can put them up. And I would recommend doing postcards and making your social media campaign to blitz that way. In addition, I believe what is required is a letter to the surrounding neighborhood. I believe you need to deliver those within a certain time frame. So a letter needs to be drafted that just says what the event is, when it's going to be, and the timing, and invite them. And if they have any concerns or questions regarding this, that they need to put a contact for it, whether it's someone on your committee or the office number or something like that. But I believe that is a good thing to do. And then I would like to ask if you happen to have had this conversation with Julie, how is the park going to monitor the 150 or less, whatever that number is, people to come? Is this RSVP? They show a ticket? Do they have to reserve their little circle? And how would we not allow the public, whoever wants to come? This seems, it seems like it's in a direct conflict with the monies that we are to use. In other words, we are to allow, as people, I know we're under restrictions at this time, but since it is an outdoor event and they are relaxing some of these restrictions, would you just go back to Julie and ask about that? Because it may be vastly different from April till June of what we're looking at. I would think by Tuesday of this week, when they lift the mask mandate, we may see some other changes as well, as far as capacity and being outside. Maybe you don't need the circles anymore. And so that's some of the things I had. And thanks for mentioning about the cleaning. I think that's important to know. And who would be supervising their staff? If they have 6 people, is one of them like a supervisor of the other 5, or how would that break down?
I believe Julie is going to be present and she's going to be supervising
Would she be one of the 6, or would she be 7?
She's
Just out of curiosity. Okay.
There's going to be more than 6. Roughly, I recall her saying that it's going to be 6 additional staff, but it's also going to be people that are already in their payroll.
Right. And I see some more hands have gone up with questions. Brandon?
Yeah, let me, I think certain things need to be clarified here because I think we're getting in, we're not staying in our lane with this thing. We're not supposed to be advising or telling or the outreach or whoever's planning this thing, the outreach or the cultural affairs, how they should do it. That's their committee is supposed to already have that done. We shouldn't
Thank
be
you.
adjudicating, we shouldn't be adjudicating that. We should be adjudicating just the budgetary aspects of it. The banners, you said you should have your banners. If you don't, make them. And also make them interchangeable. I really, and that's part of the budget because every time you have an event, you have to update the banner with the date and the time and this and the other thing. So you get an interchangeable banner that you can change the date and the day and the time on it, but just have a generic banner says movies in the park. But and then you've already done your postcard stuff, which is good. But we're not supposed to be critiquing any of that stuff here in the budget.
And I apologize if that's the way it came out, but as
Right.
far as budgeting the money and where you would put that
Right.
money into, that's what I would like to see
And
added to.
yeah, we're not supposed to also, make recommendations or even asking questions about, staffing, because that's really up to the outreach or the.
All right, can we take this one to a vote? I think we're pretty clear about the event.
Okay. I
I
see
think it's
some
just- I just
other,
think we spend it.
Understand that, but it keeps going on and it keeps going on with questions on that. So the bottom line, let me finish and do not interrupt me again. I just want to make sure that we know how to we're doing this the right way, because a lot of this stuff is going to be adjudicated on the board meeting and it should be pre-adjudicated in the committee meeting prior to it coming to us. So we simply do the budgetary portion of it, and that's it. Now you
No,
can.
you're completely right. I'm 100% agreeing. That's why I'm thinking, why don't we just move forward with the vote? Because you are right.
well, we've got some more hands up. Ira?
Yeah, so are we voting on a motion? If so, doesn't the motion have to be presented? Are we
Yes,
voting on
we
the
have
budget?
not presented
So-
that yet.
So is there a motion, or I'm happy to make one?
Well, I think, Richard, are you still
Yeah,
having
that's
your
it.
hand up to make a comment? I just want to make sure everyone's had a
My
chance to.
my comment was, could you please comment, based on your years of hosting it, basically, about the distribution of swag? You were very good at that. I really like that part. Can that be done again the same way?
And I assume that you're addressing me in that question, Richard?
I am.
Yes, thank you. And just quickly, I did not really see a budget for the swag for Peggy, but I did see something budgeted in our overall financial package for swag. And to answer briefly, that was some marketing material, items that the outreach committee decided to order and have as giveaways
No.
at any of our events. Did I
no,
not?
no.
I didn't answer it right. Sorry.
Talking about the items that Universal gave you, and I think also Disney too, that concern the movie itself. There were
There was a nice participation by Universal when they were promoting their Jurassic World, their new release of Jurassic World, and they had a few special promotional items that they allowed us to have a little trivia contest about, and whoever answered the most questions or something very simple like that engaged the audience. But that was just because they were involved and they offered, and if Paramount has something, I'm sure that would be very welcome.
you also had Minions.
Sure. Yes, they were great partners. Ira, do you still have another comment or question before we go to a motion?
Yeah, I'd actually like to make a motion.
Okay.
Okay. I move to make a motion that the Budget Committee approve the proposed budget for the spring and summer movie nights as presented by the Cultural Committee of the SCNC, pending a breakdown from Beaman Park regarding the provision requiring the 6 additional staff members. This breakdown to be presented at March 2022, March 2022 SCNC board.
That's lovely. I would like a little friendly amendment to that, if you don't mind. I don't know if you'll accept it, to add the amount of like up to, and then just put the amount that Peggy has in her presentation. She has 2,500 for one and 3 for another, so that would be what, 5,500, like up to $5,500. If you could add that somewhere in that motion, that would be. I think maybe it's redundant, but I just feel like I know I shouldn't.
Sure, just repeat that for me so I understand where I can put it in.
When you're talking about supporting the budget, just put the amount up to the $5,500 for the 2 events somewhere.
Up to $5,500 for the 2 events,
or not to exceed $5,500. Up to or not to exceed. Anybody have a preference of which way it is? Not to exceed, Richard says.
Sure. So then I have it. The budget committee approves the proposed budget for the spring and summer movie nights, not to exceed $5,500 for the 2 events, as presented by the cultural committee of the SCNC, pending a breakdown from Beaman Park regarding the provision requiring the 6 additional staff members. This breakdown to be presented at March 2022's SCNC board meeting.
Excellent. Thank you.
I can put that on the screen if you'd like.
Yes, that'd be great. And then if you could just...
Not committee.
Cultural Affairs Committee. And if you could email that to me, and I'll put it in our little report in our minutes, and I will forward that motion in its entirety to Randy so he can place it on the agenda, provided that we're passing it. I'm sorry, I shouldn't make assumptions. We do need to call a vote. So,
but is there a second?
Second. Who seconds?
Second.
Okay, Richard seconds. And Richard, your vote?
Yes.
Okay, great. Adam?
Yes.
Ira?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Lana? Yes. The motion passes. Thank
And
you
also,
so
that
much.
was a great presentation too.
Yes,
That's
thank
something
you,
I don't think you
Peggy.
realize how over the years, a lot of these things are not this good. Be proud of.
I'd like to just mention as well, Abby, that it would be nice to know too what Paramount is, besides the movie, if they are doing anything else with the partnership or sponsorship.
That's a great comment, Kim, but I don't have direct communication with Paramount, so I would have to relate to Julie. Julie is the one who has a direct contact with and the relationship with Paramount.
I just thought it would be great at the board meeting.
She talked to. I don't have the name of the person contact, and that is a great idea. And I will bring her up. I will bring this comment up to her and ask her if they could add, provide us with something else besides just a movie. But that is Julie's contact. I have no.
Yeah, no, just inquiry for when the board meeting comes. That's something. It'd just be nice to know if there, if there's more from them or not at all. That's fine. Just would like to know. So thank you for all that.
And I'm going to invite her for our board meeting so she can. So she I'm sure she's going to do a lot better in giving you the answers that you're looking for.
Great.
He's really good too.
Thank you so much.
Comment, Lana, this is for you, Lana. When we've been voting, I have not voted for either motion. So either I'm being skipped or.
Well, you're not on the budget committee.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, that's the reason. Okay.
But that's okay. You did vote. You did get to vote on the outreach committee. I mean, the cultural affairs committee.
I am in a culture. Yes.
Yeah, you got to vote there.
Yes. I'm getting spoiled now.
And you'll get to vote at the board meeting. So.
And I just emailed you. I copy and pasted exactly what was passed. And I just sent it to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ira. Yeah, let's make a note that Patty Kirby has joined us. Thank you so very much. And we will move on to our next item of business now that we're.
Please.
Oh,
Okay.
one more thing for Richard.
In the
Okay.
past, Paramount has helped us in our 75th year of Republic Studios. They lent us costumes and all kinds of stuff. Paramount and CBS are under the same umbrella. As you probably know, Viacom or what used to be Viacom. So yes, Paramount was very cooperative in the past.
I
Thank you.
would tell Julie that.
Yes, they've been great friends.
Yes.
Great friends. Well, lovely. Thank you, Richard, for that. And moving on to our next item is number 6, the presentation, discussion, and possible motion to recommend funds for the Public Safety Committee's request for for disaster staging equipment. We have a presentation that is being brought to us from the Public Safety Committee, Chair Scott Mendel and Member Patty Kirby. Take it
Hi.
away.
I
Thanks,
have, if you
Lana.
guys need me to share screen also, I have it queued up, Scott, if you want it.
Sure. Let me just give the elevator pitch about CERT and what it is we're asking. Patty's much more of an expert on this than I. I'll introduce it and then Patty can take it away. But CERT is the Community Emergency Response Team. We are trained volunteers that actually become the first responders when it hits the fan. The fire department, the first thing they tell us in training is they're not coming. They're not stopping for us. They're not helping. And it's up to us, the trained community volunteers like Patty and I, to become the volunteer first responders. One of the things that's missing from the training program are what do we respond with? There's equipment that we need. There's first aid equipment, radio communications, ways to organize physical items. What this neighborhood purpose grant accomplishes is it creates these so-called kits. These are strong boxes that contain radios and all types of first aid kits needed for people like Patty and I to help the community. Otherwise, we're trained, yet we have no tools to help the community. Also, I was certified for CERT when Villaraigosa was mayor, so it's been quite some time. And these kits provide the tools needed for the yearly drills, so people like us, like Patty and I, can keep our skills up to date. We actually go through training drills in neighborhoods where houses are, where apartments are, where people live, and physically work out how the CERT teams will help the community. And the stuff costs money. The city doesn't provide it. Whether they should, that's a whole other story. But it's up to the neighborhood councils or other types of groups to provide the gear. Most important for training, because if we don't train, you lose your ability to help. And then where the kits are located, it benefits those areas. And I'm going to let Patty correct everything I said that was wrong and take it away from there. And Patty, Ira has the neighborhood purpose grant form, the spreadsheet, and the written out motion. So just ask him what to share on the screen as you elaborate on what I just said. Thanks.
Let me just say a couple things first. There are many neighborhood councils that are doing the same thing. West Side and I think Culver City area and some down a little bit more south, but eventually every neighborhood council is going to be doing this. It's just slow process. It is critical that we have some plan in place for the big disaster that's going to come if it doesn't end up to be World War III. So I just want to let you know that it's in the works for all of the neighborhood councils to do this. There's a team at CERT that helps us, that trains certain people that request to be trained. It's not just Scott and I, it would be many of us that would take on the responsibility and have access to the material and train other people so it spreads out all over the entire Studio City community. So has everybody had a chance to read the material? So we don't really have to go through it all in detail. There's the motion, and then there's the grant would go to the team program. That's a nonprofit company that Patrick Forbes is running, and he can buy the equipment through that. And so it's all legit as far as how the money would get distributed. So has everybody had a chance to read and see the material?
I would recommend that we review it now.
Okay, Scott, you're better at reviewing the material. Oh, Scott,
There we go. I mean, there's basically three components. There's the written out proposal, the motion that requests it. There's the and neighborhood purpose grant form, which has already been filled out. And the meat of it is the actual spreadsheet that's purchasing the items. So I think for budgetary reasons, Patty and I didn't come up with this list. This is the standard Cert kit contents that has been purchased, as Patty mentioned, for all the other neighborhood councils that are involved. These are the professionals, the more highly trained first responders that came up with this ingredient list, so to speak. And this is what we're actually buying. So
Can we go through this a little more slowly? Because this was not included in anything that I've got and a link didn't seem to work. And anyways, if we could take a minute or two here.
I'm sorry to hear that, Kim. I thought that it was included in the folder. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I
And
didn't get it either.
Did
possibly I
anybody
missed it.
else miss it? Did anybody else?
I didn't get it either.
I couldn't get access to the link. It just said access was not available or something like that.
we could email the file to you now and you'd have it for later, but let's, Scott, yeah, we can go through it. You can just look at it. We can make it larger maybe, I don't know. But those are all the experts have researched it, and there are kits out there in the city that are made from this, where they were purchased, how much they are. And it's been verified, documented that that's the right type of gauze, that's the right, radio, radios we need, the brands, it's all detailed there. That's why it's so itemized.
It is very thorough. I did get a chance to look over them, and I'm again apologize. But Scott had seen this material, so he sent it to me. So, but I'm sorry that Kim, it was for some reason not in. It should have been in that whole folder from the Public Safety Committee, and I will double check my folder and see what happened there. I don't
Thank
know
you.
how to get out of this screen to email it to you right this second is what I'm trying to figure out, but let's see, maybe I can send it from the iPad. I see Richard has a hand up. Richard, would you like to ask a question? Unmute yourself, please, Richard.
Interesting, unmute. Okay, I've been a CERT member quite a while. I'm also on the call-out teams for Battalion 14, also on their radio stuff. 14225 is my number. I find this list to be adequate, and maybe there's a few more things also, but this is a pretty good start, and the local area is Battalion 14. Steve Weinberger is the supervisor. Coordinator, I'm sorry. You won't even know. So I'm saying is, I think this is a legitimate thing to do. And again, as a CERT member, I'd love to have all this stuff available. Thank you. And also, I have a fire department driver's license. Thank you.
Do I have any other hands? I'm not seeing any other questions.
I apologize. I can't seem to raise my hand, maybe because I'm a co-host perhaps, but I'm not sure. But I would like to ask, a lot of these items seem that they would, hopefully we're fortunate enough to not need them for a very, very long time. And things like batteries are going to wear out. You'll go to it and pens are dry, gloves or sanitizer is dried up. What is the life expectancy on this? How often would this need to be replenished?
We don't have an idea other than maybe 2 or 3 years. Every 2 or 3 years, we'd go through the kit, or every year, probably maintenance on the kits. And refresh any materials, we would have to get another, certain request money to do that. But it would be far less than starting over, like gauze doesn't really, expire. And so just the things that would expire, we would have to double check for everything and do it maybe yearly, an additional amount.
I think that would be a good thing to know at the board meeting as well. I see gloves would, in a couple of years would probably not be worthy. And you're right, a folding chair is going to last, and where would this be kept? Who would keep this?
We have to determine that. And that would come from a committee that would be formed on where we would actually place the security box or the 2 security boxes and who would be responsible for manning them. Scott, do you want to comment on that too?
Sure. There's like a chicken and egg scenario here, as I understand it. There's no easy way to secure placement until the kit is available. The guy who runs the nonprofit and the other neighborhood councils that Patty had mentioned, the step 1 to make this actually work is the purchase of the kit itself. Then step 2 is the placement, and that could also change because the drills run at least once a year, and the actual physical placement can sometimes change. It's also dependent on the CERT members who are close by, the ones who are going to volunteer, like Richard, Patty, and myself, and the others to do this. And also, I have a pack of Kirkland batteries. I'm just looking at the box. It says 10-year shelf life. So I think the battery shelf life is certainly better. But as the kits get opened up and items are at least used in training, there will be cause for replenishment. And that is obviously not budgeted right now. And the placement of the kit, of course, that's something, unfortunately or fortunately, is to be determined later once the kits are ready to be placed. So far to date, there has not been any issues with placement of the kits. And I know it's kind of a leap of faith, but you can't really go secure the placement until you have the kit and start the training. And for training purposes, the kits are also mobile. So.
And would you tell us the size of those kits?
It should be, the box itself should be somewhere at the top of the spreadsheet, I believe.
Just for folks that.
Yeah, there it is, the Job Master chest. So 4 feet, 2.5 feet, 2.5 feet.
Okay, great. And I see some more hands. Thank you, Scott. Brandon?
Yes, am I to understand that the kit is not going to be housed at the SCNC office, right? It's going to be held at a third party?
We have to determine that. It can't be at a place, it has to be a place that's immediately accessible. And we have to determine where that would be, and also not, I don't know if the security cameras are in here, Scott, I can't remember.
Yeah, it's in here somewhere.
In there somewhere. It has to be able to be reachable and accessible right after, within minutes after a disaster. So we have to determine where that would be. It could be a store in the back of a store that has some type of camera set up already, and plus we would have ours. But it can't be in a locked building or the CBS lot that we can't get on if there's a disaster. So we have to determine that once we get the kit.
I guess Brandon, with questions like this, just as we go forward with more budget meetings, which questions are pertinent to when you said addressing the budget? Because I mean, it's pretty easy to go and very much into very detail oriented focus.
That's also too. So we're not going to be splitting hairs here. The bottom line really is that the ultimate purpose for a neighborhood council to have their money given from Dunn or from the city, it's for outreach. Now, there's a lot of ways you can cut that outreach up.
Oh, no, that's not what I mean. I just mean, like, I don't want us to get lost on the individual details. I think that's committee work. I think we're supposed to,
We're not getting lost. We're not getting lost. And I still believe that I had the floor.
Oh, no, of course, go on, dude.
Okay, but we're not getting lost, because that was one of the reasons why I'm asking these questions, because there's certain, I'll give you a perfect example. I used to be a chair of the public safety. I used to love the fire department. Fire department came to me all the time for stuff. I couldn't get stuff for the fire department because we didn't have any type of a outreach or anything that could be said, well, neighborhood council did this, and they had our neighborhood council logo on it. So when they needed equipment racks and stuff like that, I looked other places to get that. I couldn't get it from the board, and at that particular time, the board stuck with the letter of the law as far as in the rules of what we did, what we funded and what we didn't fund. So right now, since it's not going to be used in equipment for the office, which is really the exception for it putting out any other money, it's going to be in the third party. We have no control over it. We have no, we're not going to get any credit for it unless they do something with social media saying, well, this is what we funded for them. Things have not been determined yet whether or not where you're going to place it. You don't even know where you're going to place it. So
I would strongly disagree, I think, with the premise of what you're saying. Outreach is not our primary foci. We are supposed to do good and buttress and bolster our community.
It's outreach. It's outreach. It's from the inception of the neighborhood council.
Okay. I mean, well, I think maybe you're dealing with what it used to.
If you look at the charter, it's outreach.
Okay, great. That's not what we do. I mean, we do.
Okay, let me interrupt here. We're not going to have a back and forth.
I still have the floor.
Hello.
I still have the floor, and
Brandon, it's okay. It's okay. You do. I'm acknowledging that. I just want to say we're not going to talk over each other and proceed. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there a time limit though? I mean, we should have time limits in this.
Okay, Adam, please. Thank you. Okay.
Nobody mentioned the time before when other people were speaking. Now all of a sudden it's time permit. Let me have my say.
Yes, it's okay.
Whether you like it, whether you agree or disagree with me. I am simply saying that it is outreach, but there's a lot of ways you do outreach. Okay, you even with purpose grants, you can still do it that way. But this situation is we don't know where it's going to be housed, so that problem should have been solved before it came to the budget committee. So we know exactly what's going to happen with it. Okay, listen, I like to do nice things for people all the time, but that's not what our reason for budgeting things are for. It's the bottom line, the core of it, the foundation of it is outreach. Okay, and I fail to see so far how this is going to basically see what is the neighborhood council, Studio City Neighborhood Council is getting out of this, and as far as outreach is concerned.
Okay,
and at the
great.
same time, the money is used for they don't even know where this stuff is going to be put. And you're right, a lot of this stuff is going to expire, so you're going to have to rotate, and so this is not what we're supposed to be doing at that particular time as well. I think this needs to be brought back to the committee. It's public safety and worked out and be more organized before it's brought to the budget.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay, Kim.
I would disagree with Brendan about the outreach, because this is being posed as a neighborhood purpose grant. And my original question here, when I saw this, was, does this fit a neighborhood purpose grant? And I actually am beginning to see that it does. I think that's being solidified for me, that answer. So a neighborhood purpose grant, and I'm reading directly from the funding policies and guidelines, which I sent out to people. The NPG Neighborhood Purpose Grant Program provides NCs with opportunity to benefit their communities while supporting and building partnerships with local public benefit organizations. Eligible organizations include 501c3 nonprofits and public schools, as well as there are some other things. This is not all inclusive of information I'm holding, but this does fit that. But I do think there are some good questions, though, as to, I realize you don't know precisely where it's going to be, but that is a big concern. Would it be at a firehouse? But then, and the other question I had too, you talked about using it for training. Well, so is this going to be used up each year, or part of it used up each year for training purposes? You're going to open something up, perhaps. You're going to be, that I do think we need this needs to be solidified a little bit as to exactly how that would be used, if that would be used for the training or it's strictly to be put away somewhere and not brought out until there's an emergency.
Great, thank you, Kim. Richard? Okay, we can't hear you, Richard.
Yeah, okay. A few years ago, the Dunn, for lack of a better word, specifically prohibited any neighborhood council from getting one of those big storage containers and putting this stuff in it. I had to go to the meetings of the city attorney and the meeting downtown in the Dunn office saying, you shall not get one of those containers to put this stuff in it. I'm sure there's a way of going around it, but that's exactly what they told me at least 2 years ago. I think we can get around it. I think we can lock it in our basement. We can put it in a small part of our office or a filing cabinet, but I'm saying we were prohibited from getting a container. Thank you.
Okay, great. I see Scott's hand up.
I just wanted to address a few of the points. Keep in mind, we're funding the nonprofit, the professionals that do this work. We're not placing the kit. We're not doing it. We're funding a nonprofit that does this. This is their business, so to speak. They're doing this for other neighborhood councils. So we're not slapping the Studio City Neighborhood Council logo on the box, just as we're not, planting the seeds for the beautification projects and watering the plants. This is a nonprofit that specializes in this particular function, whether it's for the training or whether it's for the placement and calling out the CERT volunteers. As far as using the items in the kits for the training, we're not going to be opening up the gauze packs and putting Neosporin on fake bandages. There are training bandages that are provided specifically for training. The bulk of the box is to familiarize people with what's in it, and more important are the radios, and to check on the contents of the box and make sure everything is as it's supposed to be, and replenishing things, of course, as time goes by. Even a fire extinguisher in your home has to eventually be replenished. No one's going to say, I'm not going to buy a fire extinguisher or a smoke alarm because it only lasts 5 years or 2 years. These are safety items that some items in the box do have less of a shelf life, but the training part is primarily, not exclusively, but primarily the radios and learning how to utilize the contents of the box and the radios to communicate with the other CERT members. And again, we're here to the budget committee, not pretending we're completely 100% organized and ready to go. We're here for help so we can present this coherently to the board. So we don't have our arms folded saying we know exactly what to do. We're asking for guidance so we make a better presentation for board approval and along those lines.
Excellent.
And
That's
I think
great.
I addressed all the questions.
That's a great
There'll be more.
point.
I'll mute myself.
Yeah, great point, Scott. Thank you.
Many CERT
And-
members have their own radio. CERT provides training.
Right. Thank you, Richard. And Patty Kirby?
I just
And
want
then
to say, yes, Richard, I remember the container fiasco and it went to the city attorney, blah, 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 but this is worked out because of the nonprofit specialties. The CERT is a city program, and each neighborhood has to, put their dudes in to get it done. And other neighborhoods have it in place. Other neighborhood councils have it in place. So it's not about the container issue that we had in the past.
Thank you, Patty. Ira?
So I have a couple points. My first point, it's going to need just a quick answer, but then I'd like to have the floor again right after that answer so I can continue.
Sure, go ahead.
How much money do we have left for this fiscal year? Do we have a significant amount left that we can spend? That's part A of that question. The second part of that question is, in your estimation, I think Kim, this might be you. In your estimation, do you believe the way we're going that we will have extra funds over, completely unofficially, just your opinion based on where we're going so far, our trajectory? So those two questions I'd just like an answer to now, and then I'd like the floor again to continue.
Thank you. Kim, would you
Well,
like to
I
address that?
can, yes, if the budget that we gave you shows at least some of what's been earmarked, our the monthly expenditure reports also can keep you abreast, Ira, of what has been spent, what's been spoken for, and what's still left. And yeah, we've spent very little this year. You know, I absolutely think that there is room for this. We have not had one. Well, there is one NPG that there's a big question marks, again, something from last year, up to
But
6,500 there. There's still 7,000 left then, that even if that's 6,500 spoken for or part of it, there's still 7,000 on the table at the moment. So, and we're, you know, more than halfway through the fiscal year. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think, okay, so about 7,000. Okay, so the other comment is, if we're using public funds, we would need a contract with whoever is going to be holding these items, I believe. And again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just what's happening in my mind here. It seems like we need a contract with whoever would be holding the items, so that someone is accountable for once we purchase them, they'd be publicly owned. So we'd be using the people's money, right? Stakeholders' funds, even though it's city funds, still taxpayers' funds. If we do have money, if we do have plenty of money left over, you know, I'd hate to see things not being utilized. I'm okay with spending money for public safety. Here's what I think might happen, and who knows if this would. What I think would happen, and this is what I'd be okay with. I'd be okay with approving this now. I know they'll go back. Scott and Patty will go back and maybe get some more info, because the board then has to approve it, and the board is going to pick it apart no matter what, most likely, before they approve this thing. So this is really just budget, and I think, in my opinion, it comes down to this: can we afford it? Is this going to take all of our money? If not, I'm down for it. Let's at least get this thing rolling and see what the board says, and allow Patty and Scott to get some more information to present the complete and final picture to the board. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ira. I still see more hands. Brandon?
Yeah, Ira was right about a couple of things, that it is the public's money. We need to basically understand the contract between the person that we're giving it to. And that would probably be a very good idea, knowing exactly where all this stuff is going to be housed at from the very beginning, before we okay it to put it forth to the board, who's basically going to get asked the same question. So that's really the most important. And yes, I have no doubt that the other neighborhood councils probably did the same thing and okayed it, but probably they know that probably at that particular time there was some place where it was located. I'm pretty sure it was in a local area within their neighborhood council area there that it was put. So we need to know where we're going to buy all this stuff. Where's it going to be housed at? Who's going to be responsible for it? How is it going to be utilized? These things are pertinent to our committee to know that. Until that happens, if nobody knows where it's going to be housed at, then I think we should wait until we find out exactly if we do get these items, where is it going to be housed at? Tell us exactly where. And at the same time, I'm not trying to be a hard ass here or anything like that. I'm trying to stick with the basics and the fundamentals of the budgeting process, which I know a great deal of. I'm also Cert. I'm up to Cert 3. I did Cert 3 years ago. So I know exactly how important all this is. At the same time, I just don't want to I want to be more judicious with what we have and how we're going to put it. So it's not like I'm against something like this. I'm all for it. And but at the same time, I don't want to. Okay, well, at the end of the fiscal year, we need to spend money for the sake of spending money. Like Ira said, if we can afford it, great. But I still like to know where everything is going to be, and who the person is, and what kind of a contract we're going to have with them to do it, and how responsible they are. They're probably pros, but Apparently, we've never done, this neighborhood council's never done business with them before. And so, you know, that sort of thing needs to be disclosed as well. Okay,
Great.
I surrender my thing.
Thank you, Brandon. Those are all great points. And I have a quick question. Patty mentioned the name of the person that has the nonprofit is Patrick Forbes. Could you tell us the name of that nonprofit? And
Yeah.
indeed, are they the keepers of all of this equipment somewhere?
You want me to answer?
You need the location though, however, sorry.
Patrick Forbes is a CERT coordinator for the city. He is the one that organizes the training. He does a training every Monday night and once a month, radio practicing training. The company is a 501c3. It is Disaster Prep, called Disaster Prep, and it's a 501c3, I said. So we can have Patrick present at the board meeting to give a overview of his credentials. But his responsibility is putting the kits together and turning it over to the community that is trained to handle it. You know, in other words, he doesn't want to just give us all these radios and have us not know how to operate them, you know. So we would have to be trained before we even put them in place.
So this particular, not the 501c3 registration that he has, is that designated as a training company? I mean, is there any kind of conflict of interest as a city employee versus managing money for equipment? I don't know. I'm just raising the question. I just don't know. I want to just kind of clarify for anybody else who might not really know, because I don't really know how those things.
The company is Disaster Prep, and they prep communities, and they specialize pretty much only doing neighborhoods, neighborhood by neighborhood by neighborhood throughout the city of Los Angeles. And it's the CERT program that is basically sponsoring it without having any funds to help pay for it. You know, the fire department.
Well, thank you for giving us some information. And Richard, I see your hand going up. Maybe you can add to that.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that whoever we're paying for will service Studio City. I'm a little concerned about that. I don't know where this company is located at. It may be totally legitimate, but I would prefer if Studio City was the primary recipient of the services. The other thing also is, yes, they do radio.
Okay, hold on, Adam. Wait, just raise your hand and you can comment. I'm sorry. You can comment when Richard is done.
Also, a lot of CERT members have their own radios and they recharge them all the time, including me, and have licenses also. Just mentioning that fact. Hey, but my primary thing is make sure that Studio City is served by Studio City money. Thank you.
Great. Adam.
Yeah, I just to elucidate where I'm going, and this is because Brandon, I think I did not mean to offend you in any way. I think what I'm saying is this motion is going to get churned over for what we're talking about now in council. But we need to, like we said, we just need to go, like we've had access to the documents. We go over the budget and we take votes on it based off but we're asking questions that are not pertinent to this meeting. They're pertinent to our actual council, like our board meetings. So, you know, just to be expedient and knowing that we're going to be doing these meetings for a long time, I think we should, should stay really, Lana, we should try to really streamline these because we're going way off. I've been on a lot of meetings for a lot of years, and this is like.
I'm sure, I know, and I would like to comment towards your comment, and that is that when Scott said we're bringing this to the budget committee meeting, and then he verbalized we wanted your advice and your help. Now we can certainly turn it back to the Public Safety Committee without taking a vote or a motion, but I appreciate you saying the streamline, but it is also our responsibility to dig in really deep, because I have to give a report, and I'm going to have questions from the council coming at me given this report of why, right? And if I can't answer those questions, and if the Public Safety group
Well, let's do this. Let's have everybody who's a member or who's attending this meeting, I think everybody should just be limited to like a specific quantitative number of comments they can make, or we get it down to a minute. Just going forward, this is our first meeting, so
Sure,
I think
and
we should just
I'm
establish
sorry.
some kind of. And Kim, sorry to
Right.
interrupt you again. I won't talk.
That's okay.
anymore.
I really appreciate it, and thank you. And we've been made aware.
I know
Thank
Kim's got
you.
her hand over.
Yes.
Raising her.
Thank you, Kim. Go ahead.
No, all comments are appreciated. We do need to kick this stuff around. And as I said, it's not just looking at the numbers. It's, do we feel that this is worthy to go forward? We're saying yes to saying the budget committee thinks we should give 5,000 to this. When it's possible it's not even an actual NPG or something, that it doesn't fit there. We do need to uncover this information. And in fact, I was going to suggest that, while I do think it fits, there are very specific guidelines on what we can give money to, and things like it does need to be accessible to the public and for the public's benefit. Clearly,
it's such a
would
good
be
something
for
that's
the
so
benefit.
good.
But
I feel it's just so like it's such a no
Okay.
brainer.
Okay.
Like
I'm likely to say yes to pushing this forward to the board. I would, though, since I did not get the other documents, the spreadsheet and whatever
I
else,
just
the actual
emailed it to
NPG,
you.
I would like that, and I would put it forth to the clerk's office in between to make sure that it fits the NPG, or else we can just take it off the table.
I think
So-
because it's a nonprofit, Kim, if you will, that is where it fits. You made that comment earlier, and it is most appropriate for that MPG, I believe. And
I do agree.
I emailed it to you, so if you want to open it up in your email and look at it.
Thank you. No, I do agree that it's a nonprofit, but it depends, I think, also on what they're using it for. So I just, for my own sake, and probably for some people on the board who might have that question, it'd be good to just ascertain. But
Right, and a schedule of the training when it would be available to train people in the community is helpful to enumerate that. Scott?
I just want to make sure you've all seen the actual neighborhood purpose grant that the applicant has filled out. If you wanted to get it vetted, he's turned in the same NPG application form to the other neighborhood councils, and they were funded by the city. I think, to, I believe, Adam's point, Brandon's, Richard's, Kim's, Ira's, all of your points, as far as the budgeting of this, we think we're solid. As far as some of the other questions that you guys are asking, these are all legitimate questions, and I'd like my request would be for those questions to go to the board. They're going to have the same questions on where's the box going to go? Who is this guy? What is he going to do? And we're going to have him there, and he will explain in greater detail as to how this works. This is exactly what he does. We want to make sure we have our grant form properly filled out, that the spreadsheet is the proper backup, and that we have enough information to say, okay, these are the pros, these are the cons, and let the board decide if that's possible. I think these questions and the challenges are very helpful. I don't take it the wrong way. I take it the right way to prepare for the presentation to the board. These are legitimate questions that the expert will be able to answer. We may even get input from another neighborhood council as to how it's going with them, although everything we've heard is positive. So just in the interest of time, are we good budget-wise? And these logistical questions, are these board questions to be answered?
Excellent. Thank you, Scott. Do we have actually more comments from Richard and Brandon?
Yes.
Okay.
My question is not considered to be a gift of public funds. I don't want to be nailed on that. Even though other neighborhood councils have done it, I want to make sure we don't get nailed.
Brandon?
I think basically that I'd like to put forth a motion that we kick this back to public safety, because a lot of questions really need to be answered, and we're not here to basically peruse through this thing, and we need to do our job first. And that's another thing too, is that the board, when it goes before the board, a lot of these things should have be worked out before, and then the board takes it a little further. Right now, we haven't done that. I used to be on the budget committee back when Remy was the chair, and Remy was a hard guy to get things through, but he was very, very in depth, and he was very, very good at what he did. And these are things that I know that he would have brought up back then. And I'm bringing up the same thing, having years and years ago when I was on the budget committee. So I think that first we need to know exactly where the stuff is going to be housed at. Yes, this guy does it for all the neighborhood councils, but he puts that equipment, I guess, in a designated place that the neighborhood council knows about. We don't know that in Studio City. So that we really really need to know that as well as among other things as well. I think it needs to be kicked back, brought back again, maybe in a couple of weeks, or since we don't have to meet every 2 weeks, we can meet every week if we need to at our committee. But you have a time sensitive thing if you want to be on the March board meeting. But I do think it needs to be kicked back, and I'd like to have a motion that it needs to be tabled or kicked back to the Public Safety Committee to work all these things out, then bring it forth us again. So at least a lot of the questions can be answered prior to sending it to the board, who would simply just go over the surface of what needs to be done. Because I would hate to have the president come to the chair of this committee and say, well, you didn't do your job. You're leaving it up to us to make every decision on everything. I think we need to do a significant amount on our committee first before it goes to the board.
Thank you, Brandon. All good points. And I did hear you say that you would like to take a vote on sending it back to the Public Safety Committee and then having the option for them to come back to us as soon as they are ready. And if we go forward in that juncture, we can call a meeting at any time. We're not relegated to having a standing committee just meeting once a month. We can meet at any time there is a request, and we could invite Patrick Forbes even to address us.
Yes.
And we could have a meeting just dedicated to this discussion again. Do we have a second for Brandon's proposed motion to send it back to public safety?
Question before, may I ask a question
Sure.
before about that?
Okay, sure.
Do we need a motion if those who brought this to the committee decide to agree with that?
Possibly not. I guess we could ask if Scott and Patty would be open to taking this another few days and adding the answers to some of the questions that we brought up, or investigating those a little bit more, and what their thoughts are on that. Scott, I see you.
If you can tell me the key, what are the key points besides the location of the kits, which may not be able to be answered until after the kits are ready, and the dates or how often there's training and where the training takes place? Were those the two key issues, or is there something else?
I'd be curious to know a little bit more about how the nonprofit is operating, if they, in other words, are the umbrella for all of the kits all over a certain radius. Is it Los Angeles? Is it just the Valley? Some more detail about that. I am not familiar with how Cert is organized, or how the trainings roll out, or the kind of kits. Anybody else with important?
Let me just answer that one question. Is the kits would be the response turned over to Studio City, us, the neighborhood council committee that is going to be trained, or the people that are going to be trained. They just do training after they help us purchase the kits. They did all the research, they did all the background, and they do the training. The training, all of the materials are kept in Studio City in a secure place that we have to determine. But to determine it, we have to have the kit, because we can't go to a store and say, gee, in the back of your store, can we put a a kit with a security cameras, you know, blah, blah, blah. We have to really we can't really do it until we have the training in place and the kits and ready
So
to
the size of it, Patty, you're saying it may be, these two kits may be larger than what we have storage space for in our neighborhood council storage area at CBS.
we cannot put it in CBS. We would not be able to access
Access it.
rounds in an emergency. It has to be at a place where people can get to meet and then start doing triage, for example.
Gotcha.
You know,
Okay, super. Thank you. Adam, you're muted. Are you talking to us? Adam, we can't hear you. Are you talking to us? We can't hear you.
I'm going back to all these different meetings that I've been a part of, and I know a lot of you guys have been too. And you guys, obviously, it's Patty and Scott. I think this is a no-brainer to me. I don't know why it's being sent back, except the only people that get hurt from this is our community, to not have this out for a month. So I think it's silly. I think we're just all, you know, why don't we just, it's obviously a good thing. Let's move forward with it, or let's vote and you guys can say no or yes. But we need to organize this better where we have, if we're going to have this kind of conversations, we need to have them more specific and more organized and more direct, because we're just going in circles and now talking about a lot of the same stuff. And I mean, I really am sad that we're even thinking about like, why this should have just been voted on half an hour ago. If we say it's going to be a 15-minute thing, let's make it a 15-minute thing. We're going to be together for a long time, I hope, doing this. So let's get some organization.
Okay, great. I'll get organized right now. Anybody want to make a motion?
Well, there is a motion on the floor already. I just had a question to see if Scott and Patty would be willing to voluntarily take it back to
yes,
committee.
And thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
And so then we were but Brandon does have a motion out on the floor.
Yes. Okay. So, but I hear from Scott and Patty that they are not at this time thinking that they want to take it back. They feel, am I correct in that they would like to go forward and see what we do?
Yes, let's go forward.
We can't provide where
the answer
where the location
right.
is
Yeah.
going to be.
This is just so silly.
So if I go back to public safety and we debate where are we going to put the
Right. Well, I'm sorry that it's taking up your Saturday night, Adam. I'm very sorry about this.
I think it's great. I'm more going
okay, we'll keep your comments to yourself. Thank you, Richard. One more comment germane to the topic. If you want me to get tough, I'll get tough. Go.
Last many decades, CBS has had a guard at the front gate 24 hours a day for years and years and years and years and years. If we did have to secrete it in a place we decide, whether it be upstairs or downstairs, we can get to it at any time.
Okay, great. Thank you, Richard. So again, let's go back to the motion that Brandon brought to us. Do we have a second for turning this back to the public safety?
I second.
So Adam, you are seconding the motion to turn it back to the Public Safety Committee.
Yeah.
That's what
no. I didn't know. I thought,
right. So
no,
please listen. This is the motion. If you will listen. Okay, I thought not.
I love this new Atlanta though. You're doing
amazing. You have no idea. I'm very kind, but you should see me in other places. Okay. So Richard Niederberg, were you seconding? Was that the hand up there? Seconding to send it back? You're muted. Can't hear you. Hello, Richard. Hello.
Doesn't second.
Hello.
I said I'd go along.
What does that mean? You're seconding the turn back to Public Safety Committee?
No.
I couldn't. Richard, why do you keep going on mute? I can't hear you.
To mute.
Okay, start again now. I can hear you. Start now from the beginning of the sentence.
No, I was not seconding his motion, even though I think that we could get torn apart by the committee as a whole, the SCNC, and I think we need to have more ducks in a row so that we have an answer to every possible question reasonably.
Okay, great. Well, then what we have... Okay, let's... Yes, that's what we're saying is we turn it back to committee instead of taking a motion to the board, but we need to vote on this and then move forward. If nobody seconds this, it fails. We move to a motion to either approve or, you know, not approve it going to the board, because that's our choices. If we make a motion to not approve it until these certain things are made, that's a part of our motion to the board.
What exactly, where is, I don't have the exact wording of the motion. What does
It's
the,
because we would make it right now.
oh, okay.
I say we take. a
No,
vote
no,
on
no,
the-
I mean the
Brandon-
motion to approve, to push this NPG to the board.
That's what we create out of this
We would,
committee.
we'd create that here. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Okay,
and
not to
so-
push it back to safety. I'm talking to approve the 5,000 for board to approve or not.
Well,
That's, we'd make that here now.
yes, we would do
Okay.
that now. I see Brandon's hand up, and then Ira. Brandon,
No, my motion doesn't carry, so.
correct. So we're moving forward.
Yeah, so we're just gonna end up moving forward with the other vote.
Right, Ira. One more comment.
Yeah, I was just trying to clarify. So we're at the current moment.
Yes. So now Brandon's motion failed. So because we did not get a second, so we can go forward and create a motion now that we'll vote on, and that would be the budget committee recommends the proposed funds requested by the budget. I'm so sorry. The budget committee recommends the funds brought forth by the Public Safety Committee to support the Cert disaster staging kits.
Can we be more neutral in that?
Okay, would you like to tell me how to be more neutral then?
Instead of saying recommending, just put it on the board itself. It's a lot of money. Let them decide as they're going to anyway. They don't need a recommendation for a major thing like this. Just pass it through to the board, but it doesn't have to say recommended, not recommended, or anything at all. Just
So
presents it.
So tell me how you would phrase that, Richard. The budget committee
Presents to the board
presents to the board.
the Public Safety Committee recommendation.
Okay. With a little bit more detail, Public Safety Committee recommendation to support the disaster staging kits for Cert.
I was just saying we present to the board, what the public
For
safety
funding, I gotcha, for funding up to $5,000 for
Patty may have something.
Cert disaster staging equipment. How is that? Should I reread that? Everybody kind of got the gist of that?
No,
Uh,
please.
Wants to talk.
Patty has her hand up, but yes, please
yeah.
read it before we.
Sure. Patty?
Well, we wrote it out. It's written out in the document that we also provided, requesting a neighborhood purpose grant in the amount not to exceed $5,000 to purchase 2 community emergency response team CERT staging area kits to be placed within the Studio City neighborhood council boundary.
Right. And
That's
that's
the motion.
your motion from your public safety committee.
Right.
And so with our general motion, see, y'all will present your motion through the Public Safety Committee on March's meeting, and then the Budget Committee will bring their generic motion that we're going to vote on. That is, the Budget Committee presents to the board the Public Safety Committee's recommendation for funding up to $5,000 for the Cert disaster staging equipment. Is that not complimentary enough?
Lana,
Yes, Brandon.
we either recommend it or we don't. So right now, if my motion has failed and the budget committee recommends it, of course, we have to vote on it in the budget committee, but you can't, you're pushing it forward because now you're recommending. You can't be.
Okay, well, here's what I would like to vote on. Are we going to recommend this through to the board, or are we not?
Well,
That's what we need to know.
We need to have a vote. Whether
We're going to have let's vote on that, and then I guess we'll craft the wording of how it wants to be.
Right.
So I'd like to call the vote for, okay, I know I see Ira's face going, what? But we need to know if we're going to recommend this or if we're going to oppose it, right?
Just
Like,
present
we're
it.
not turning it back.
We're presenting it.
So, but Brandon seems to think that we need stronger language than presenting.
It's not strong language. It's that I'll be upfront with you right now. I'm going to vote against it, but I'm going to be overruled. So we're going to end up recommending it. So you're going to end up recommending. You're going to recommend, not being in general. Richard can't be lukewarm. He has to be hot or cold. So he's for it or he's against it.
Okay, so here we go. The budget committee recommends the public safety committee's motion for funding up to $5,000 for the Cert disaster staging equipment kits. How's that? May I take a vote? Richard?
No.
Brandon?
No.
Kim?
I don't like the wording of this motion.
Okay,
I don't
I'll entertain
understand.
a friendly amendment.
Okay, yes, I have someone at my door. Hang on one second.
Okay, sorry.
Can we do a
Okay.
friendly amendment in the middle of a vote?
No, probably not. But I just wanted to let her know I'll entertain a friendly amendment. But
No.
let's go ahead. If this fails, we'll
Yeah, I mean, they can send
Do
it back and
another
rework it, so it doesn't
Sure.
really, we don't really need to make a,
So if
motion
you
to
don't
send it
like
back.
it, we can fail this one and create another one.
yeah, so that's what I'm
Just
saying, we
make
don't
as
need to
many
make a
as well.
motion to send, and we never need to make a motion to send it back. If we just, that's what the vote's for, so like when we're doing this and trying to, if we just vote no or yes, they can go back the next month and come up with something. I mean, I think
yeah,
it's,
and that's what we were trying with
Yeah.
the other. Okay,
No,
so
right,
I
we're
have
good.
so far we have 2 no's on record, and Kim, you had a question, you didn't like the wording?
Yeah, I thought, aren't we just kind of like the last one, approving the use of funds?
We are not the last ones because it goes to the board.
goes to.
No,
yeah.
just like the last motion that was written, that we just approved up to a certain, we didn't say we were in favor of or not in favor of, or this sounds like we are recommending this.
Well,
not just
that's the
approving
same
use of
thing
funds.
as the
I'm
other one.
confused.
We recommended, we did recommend and approve the other one to go to the
Okay.
board.
Okay,
We approve.
we did, yeah, we approved it. I'm just not, all right, maybe because I don't have it in front of me, apologies. Can you read this
We
once more,
approved.
Lana, and I'll
Yes.
vote then?
Okay. Okay. The budget committee recommends to the board the public safety committee's request for funding up to $5,000 for the Cert disaster staging equipment kits.
Okay, thank you. My vote then is yes.
Ira,
Yes.
who am I missing? Adam.
Yes. Duh.
Yes, duh. And
It's a
then
great-
me. Me. Okay, I'm going to say yes as well. So we have 4-2. So thank you.
I just always worry that we're gonna get caught with a bunch of money at the end of the year, like it's been, and we could have done something great with that money because we're fiddle-faddling around with it in committee. Let's
Well,
just get it out there.
Sure. Well, and that's some of the examination, right? Because we'll have more requests coming to us down the road.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that is not
thank
always the
you.
case, but
Well, we
that's
hope we
really the
really
point
need
of
to do
spending
our
the money.
best to spend this money. I'm hoping the outreach will come up with some materials that they want to
I was
the
hoping
print
we
for the use. I see Patty.
without an intermediary.
I see Patty Kirby's hand. I'm sorry, Richard.
Thank you, guys, and we will have a great presentation to the board that should help weed out all the questions. when we go before the board, right, Scott?
Right. Thank
Sure.
you, Patty.
We'll have Patrick do the presentation. He's very convincing. He's very thorough. He's a professional. So
Excellent. Thank
feel
you so
confident.
much.
thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Scott.
guys
Thank
for
you,
doing
Patty,
this.
for enduring that. Yeah, enduring this. Richard, did you want to say something, Richard? Hello?
Oh, I think I've already talked about it. I'd rather have us spend the money on ourselves, lock up the stuff at some approved location, and not go into an intermediary to get cert items.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we already voted though, so we don't need to have this conversation
That's the right way of
retroactively.
doing it.
Right. So thank you, everyone. Just in closing, I appreciate your time. I must have really underestimated the inquisitiveness of our great committee members and their insightfulness for this evening. Adam.
Can I say something before?
Yeah.
Brandon, I just wanted to address you specifically, as I did not mean to be disrespectful. I'm sorry if you thought that I was. I don't want to have any bad blood in this at all.
Thank
Do
you.
you forgive me? Okay.
I think, Brandon,
We're
did
good.
you hear? I don't know if he heard you.
What are you talking about?
I was just
Adam
saying,
was
Brandon, I didn't
addressing
want to
it.
have any bad blood, and I did not mean to be disrespectful to you at
No,
all.
it's a committee meeting. That's what it's for. I mean, we can debate.
Okay.
I just think that we need to take each of our comments with respect, and I understand, your point of view as far as the deliberateness of a lot of the committees. I think a lot of them spend too much time because they can hear themselves talk, but at the same time, you got to be respectful. I mean, I want to wait till you finish. You have your word, I have my word, that sort of thing. I would never try to talk over you or interrupt you when you're trying to make your point, whether I agree or disagree. So I don't take any of that stuff personally. Don't worry about that at all, period.
Okay, good.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I am adjourning us. Y'all have been the best. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Shark Tank.
Bye.
We are adjourned. Bye.
Thanks all.
Thank you.